Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is David Talbot. I am Managing Director and Head of Research here at Red Cloud Securities. I'm delighted to host a Red Cloud webinar on lithium today. We will hear from Bradda Head Management, our CEO, Charles Fitzroy. During today's webinar, Charles will provide an overview and outlook of the company, and then we'll take some questions. You can type your questions into the text box at any time, and we'll get to as many as we can. But before I kick things off, first I need to discuss the fine print. During this Bradda Head webinar, forward-looking statements may be made. I would direct listeners to its forward-looking statements out on page 2 of the Bradda Head corporate presentation, and that can be found on the company's website, braddaheadltd.com. For Red Cloud Securities, I'd highlight this webinar is for information purposes only. It should not be considered a solicitation or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note that this call does not consider the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigation and seek their own professional advice before investing. Please see our most recent research located on the Red Cloud website for specific disclosures on Bradda Head Lithium. So you are all familiar with the energy transition underway with the growth in EV and storage, and we've seen particular interest in the battery materials sector pick up this year, particularly for lithium, as carbonate prices out of China are up over $25,000 a ton. But we need ways to produce that material and scale up in a quick manner, and that's why we're here today. So I now turn it over to Charles to kick off today's webinar. Charles.
Thanks, Dave. Yes, my name is Charlie Fitzroy. I'm the CEO of Bradda Head, and I'd like to introduce the company to you today if you don't know us already. As Dave mentioned, here's our important notices. Please read these at your own leisure. So Bradda Head, we are a UK-listed lithium explorer with assets in Arizona and Nevada. We listed back in July this year, where we went out to raise £4 million. We ended up raising over £6.2 million. We had a fantastic IPO, 2 times oversubscribed nearly. Our assets are located in Arizona and Nevada. We've got brine assets up in Nevada, sedimentary assets in Arizona, and pegmatite assets in Arizona. That's what makes us unique and different. We have 3 different assets, which spreads our risk dramatically. These projects are all 100% owned by the company, and we have work underway as we speak. We had some really exciting news yesterday, whereby we announced that we've gone into a binding LOI with Lithium Royalty Company, LRC, for up to $10 million. This is $8 million from a royalty proceeds and then $2 million from a private placement. This is fantastic news for the company because this will enable us to get our sedimentary stage assets to an early stage technical study without needing to come to the market for a secondary raise. So that is really important. So the $8 million from the royalty will go towards the sedimentary assets, and then $2 million from the private placement we can use for our other assets, pegmatites and brines. So we've got a real huge amount of optionality from this recent deal. So Bradda has started the IPO, started its listed process very well, and is going into the end of the year strongly. Since IPO, we've had a really busy time. We've doubled our land holding in our sedimentary claims. We've added about 24 square kilometers. We've now got 47 square kilometers. Drilling is underway at one of our assets and is shortly going to be underway at another asset, Wikiup. We've nearly completed a geophysical program over all our 47 square kilometers of sedimentary claims and our pegmatites, with the initial results being very promising, which I'll talk about a bit later. We've also received permission to drill our Wikiup project. We're just waiting on the bond letter adjudication, and we'll be starting to drill there later this quarter. And we're permitting our other sedimentary assets as well. And also work at our brine projects. We're going to be drilling one of our brine projects early next year, and we've got a geophysics program planned for the other project early next year too. And as I mentioned before, the most amazing news this week, we've announced that we've got a $10 million royalty agreement with LRC binding. And as you can see, since IPO, shares are up 56%. So we've had a very good go since July, and lots more to come. Bradda as a company, we understand where we need to be. We need to get all our assets to a situation where they are low production costs, low carbon footprint, battery quality, lithium end product producers. Well, we've identified the company that we need to increase resources at our sedimentary assets, develop our processing technology at our sedimentary assets, and increase the knowledge of our pegmatites and brines. So how are we doing that? Well, We're accelerating the drilling, our sedimentary assets. We're shortly going to be finishing up the program at Burrow Creek East, and we are starting shortly at Wikiup. We're prioritizing our assets for remote sensing and geophysics, and we're also added some team members. We've added an ESG professional, technical consultant, and processing consultant, and I'll introduce them later. And we're also doing a metallurgical test work program, which will help us to understand our clays better and how to process them. And as I said, we've done a geophysical program, and we are shortly going to be completing it across our sedimentary and pegmatites. And this will make sure we are not drilling unnecessarily, and we can target the best depths of clay to make sure we prove up resources. Management and board team at Bradda is fantastic. Ian Stalker is our chairman. Ian has got over 46 years experience. He's built 12 mines himself, spent 30 years in Africa building mines. He understands how to take operations from early stage to end producers. Myself, I'm a geologist by background. I spent 5 years in the British Army before working in the drilling industry, did a master's in economic geology, and I've worked across M&A, equity research, asset management, and most recently corporate development on China Moly, this is why I did a lot of work at looking into lithium projects. That's why when the opportunity came to join Bradda earlier this year, I jumped at it. We also have a fantastic operational team on the ground and very strong corporate team. And our board, Jim Mellon's a very supportive shareholder. He's our largest shareholder, owns over sort of 20% of the company. He's a self-made billionaire in the UK. And then we've got a very strong advisory team, Ewan and Alex. We've got a very good team, management and board at Bradda, who understand how to add value to a company and grow it. We've also added 3 new members to the team. We've added Adam Hawkins, who was our ESG consultant. Adam worked for the Senate before working in-house at Rio Tinto, and he is helping us engage with our local stakeholders and local tribes to make sure everything goes the right way and we're doing things the right way, because that's vital for any early stage exploration project. We want to make sure that we've got good relationships with our stakeholders and all the local people in the area. Don Haynes is our technical consultant. Don consults for quite a few small lithium juniors, and he's helping us on both the geological and the processing side of things. And then Yatendra Sharma, who is phenomenal in the processing side of things. He's got 16 patents to his name, and he's helping us with our metallurgical test work, because that's vital for any stage, any early stage exploration company, especially in the clay theme. As I said, ESG side of things, Adam is helping us put together a very strong ESG policy, because that's front and center for Bradda and part of our core beliefs as a company. So Bradda Head, we are located in Arizona and Nevada. The reason why that's important is because the US currently has a very small lithium production, roughly 5,000 tons a year of LCE, lithium carbonate equivalent. And the demand is coming to increase that dramatically. By 2025, it will need over 200,000 tons of LCE. And then by 2030, about 350,000 tons. And that's where Bradda comes in. We want to be part of the supply going forwards for the new US domestic lithium supply chain. And we want to be part of that in a low carbon way. If you look at the chart on the right-hand side here, let me just get this chart here. If you look at the orange there, the orange is the world's lithium pegmatites, and the blue is the world's lithium brine projects, and then the green is the world's lithium clay projects. And these are plotted on a capital intensity versus carbon intensity scale. As you can see, most of the world's pegmatites are quite high up in the carbon intensity. That's because they're located in Australia. These projects are then made into a 6% spodumene concentrate, which is sent over to China to be processed, which is then sent on to Europe or to the US, picking up a carbon footprint and being also processed in China or other places whereby we're not sure of the energy mix going into it. Also, you can see the brine projects, which are low on the carbon but higher in capital. And the clay projects, again, low carbon but high capital. That's because they're developing. Bradda believes, from where we're located in the US, that we're going to get all our projects in this bottom corner here. Because of where we're located in the US and how we're developing our assets, we plan to develop them with low carbon footprint as possible by using renewable energies where possible, reducing water where possible. And that is a key part of Bradda. We want to make sure that we are producing low carbon footprint lithium for the US end market. This chart here, this slide here is a good one to understand a bit of a comparable asset. We believe that our asset at Burrow Creek East, where we're drilling as we speak, is similar to American Lithium's TLC project. If you look at this chart here, you can see the similar grade profile. We've only drilled 2% of our 47 square kilometers. American Lithium have drilled 40% of their 30 square kilometers. So you can see there the potential for Bradda to prove up a huge resource. Market cap of American Lithium is about over 800 million US dollars. We're only 33 million. So there's a massive potential there for Bradda to grow. And also, Bradda doesn't only just have sedimentary assets, it has pegmatites and brines. You can see from American Lithium share price, since its maiden resource was released last year, it's gone up, nearly 1,400%. So really phenomenal share price gains for American Lithium. And Bradda is starting drilling. We're going to be drilling a new portion of our claims starting by the end of the year. So by next year, we would have drilled roughly somewhere close to on about 20% of our claims. So you can see the potential size uplift for Bradda over the next 6 to 12 months. This chart here, sorry, map here, is showing our sedimentary claims in Arizona. We've got our Wikiup project here and our Burrow Creek project here. On the map, you can see that just next to our Burrow Creek, we've got Freeport's Baghdad copper mine there. So it's a very mining-friendly jurisdiction. We've got Highway 93 going through the middle there. So there's a very good route there. All the projects are close to the highway, close to infrastructure, in a mining-friendly jurisdiction, and close together. And that's important because all our Burrow Creek and Wikiup projects are going to be processed using the same one processing facility, no need for two. So this is one project, it's not two projects, despite the two names. And as I said, our program is finishing up as we speak at Burrow Creek East, and so far the results have been promising. Wikiup, we're going to be starting drilling in Q4 this year at our sections 12, 13, and Northwest. The reason why we're drilling Wikiup is because if you see the black claims here, and this little resource here, is where Hawkstone Mining, or sorry, they've changed the name to Arizona Lithium now, have a resource, which has a grade of 1850 ppm. We believe that our claims at Wikiup have a similar profile. We've done geophysics recently, which has demonstrated that the clay depth there is up to 90 meters, which is the same as Arizona Lithium's. So we're very positive that the clay's there, and we just need to start drilling. We're soon going to be starting with a sonic drill program there, which is a more environmentally friendly way to drill. It uses much less water or very little water, and is the best way to go forward on clays. And we'll be getting the program will be starting towards the end of this quarter. As I said, the geophysics has been very positive, and this will enable us to do a resource estimation out for Q2 next year. And this is one of the areas where we've added lots of claims. If you look at Wikiup South, we've added about over 16 square kilometers of claims here, and then a small portion up here. So we're very positive about Wikiup in general. Most importantly is Hawkstone Mining, so Arizona Lithium, have demonstrated that they can process their mineral to battery grade lithium carbonate, which is a huge de-risking effect for us on this belt. And we've also done work at our Burrow Creek East asset. I just jumped back, which is just down in here, where we demonstrated you can process that to battery grade lithium carbonate too. So there's two areas on this whole belt which have been de-risked, which is very important. Go on to Burrow Creek, where we're drilling as we speak, and that's going to be shortly over. The resource we've got here is inferred resource. We're doing a drill program, which is testing the 2018 program because it suffered poor recoveries. So we're doing some new holes and some old holes. The old holes are important because there's two layers of clay there, upper zone and a lower zone. We're drilling through the upper zone and testing that from the old 2018 data, and then filling into the lower zone to expand the resource. And we're also putting in new holes because we want to join up the resources. So we're also permitting at Burrow Creek West, Burrow Creek East Extension, and Burrow Creek North. So all these things will form up a nice resource here, as you can see. And then after that, we're going to be permitting at Burrow Creek West side and Burrow Creek West Extension, which will form up a huge resource. We've done geophysics there recently, and it has demonstrated that we have good clay depths too. So we're very positive about the clay depths. We just need to drill it out now to see what's there below the surface. And this is an area where we've added new claims as well. At Burrow Creek West Extension, we've added between Burrow Creek West Extension and Burrow Creek North, we've added 7.5 square kilometers. So there's another area we're very, very excited about. And the reason why we're doing the program is because if you look at the block diagram here, you've got upper clay zone and lower clay zone. And what we've done so far with the drilling in the geophysics has demonstrated the upper clay zone thickens to the west and the northwest, which is the west up there, northwest that way. As you can see on this block diagram, there's a fault there, which corresponds to the map here. So the upper clay zone thickens that way. And that's why we're permitting at Burrow Creek North, Burrow Creek East Extension, and Burrow Creek West, because we believe the clay is thicker out there and the upper clay zone is higher grade. That's why we want to start permitting there and drill there, because it will enable us to prove up a larger resource more quickly and a higher grade one. So that's why we're very excited about that. So after talking about the sedimentary assets, I want to talk about pegmatites. Our pegmatite district is called San Domingo, and it's in Arizona. We think it's comparable to some Australian pegmatites called Kathleen Valley and Bald Hill. Liontown Resources owns Kathleen Valley, and about 90% of Liontown Resources and value is in their pegmatite asset. Obviously, Liontown Resources is more developed and further down the path to production than us. But you can see from this chart, when they put the resources out back in October 2018, roughly, September, sorry, and where they are now, the share price has risen fantastically, but over 5,400%. And their market cap is much larger than us. That's because the market understands pegmatite mining and brine mining. So 60% of the world's lithium comes from pegmatites, and 40% comes from brines. Clays are a developing field. So if we demonstrated that our pegmatite asset in Arizona is a viable option, then I think we will get a re-rating of our valuation rapidly. The reason why we think that is the case is because we had a thesis that our pegmatites, which are here, this is a 9-kilometer strike here, our pegmatite district. As you can see from the map, there's lots of small outcropping pegmatites. And that's important because we believe, if you look at these two comparable assets, that you see the outcropping pegmatite, you see the outcropping pegmatites here at Kathleen Valley and at Bald Hill. Well, they both have big feeder systems at depth, here and here. Our thesis was that we have a big deep feeder system. So we've done some geophysics, which has enabled us to see 80, 90 meters, which is about roughly that sort of depth. And what we've seen so far is that our pegmatites continue past that mark. And that's important because that demonstrates that they continue at depth. So what we're doing now is we're putting together a drill program, which will drill down 400 or 500 meters to demonstrate what's going on at the depth of our pegmatites. And we can do that now because, well, once we close the royalty. But so we've got the $8 million from the royalty mentioned earlier, which goes towards the sedimentary claims development. $2 million in the placement. We can use that to go towards our brines or pegmatites. So we're going to put that $2 million towards a drill program on our pegmatites, which is hugely exciting because, as I mentioned, the market understands pegmatites and brines. It's still getting its head around clays. And if we demonstrate we have a viable pegmatite operation, then we can get that into production much more quickly and much more easily than we could a clay operation. So this is why this is very exciting. And that's why we're taking it very seriously, and we're planning a drill program for next year, and also a mapping program to fully understand the pegmatites there. The geophysics is not fully finished. We are still in the process of finishing up the geophysics up here, but so far I'm hearing very good noises from our geophysical team. On the back of our geophysical program, we've added actually 5 square kilometers of claims here. The map hasn't been updated yet. So we've got 13 square kilometers of claims now in our pegmatite district. And then to our brines. Excuse me. So we've got 2 brine projects up in Nevada, Wilson and Spencer. Wilson, we've done an MT survey, which is a geophysical survey, and has enabled us to identify 2 basins, one shallow basin up to 400 meters deep, and then a deeper basin up to sort of 1,000 meters depth. We are in the process of permitting to do a shallow drill program into the shallow basin, and then we'll follow up that with a deeper one into the deeper basin to understand what's going on, whether it's brines, clays, what the grade is in there, and do some geochemical testing. And then at Spencer, we've got a geophysical program planned for early next year, which will enable us to understand what's going on there. Spencer is very exciting because we've done some clay surface sampling there. We've identified clay grades up to 550 ppm at surface. So we're also going to be doing a shallow drill program there to understand what's going on, whether it's a clay project as well as a brine project. So a lot happening there. And Spencer has a geothermal element too, because the hot springs in the area, and we believe there's a faulting system, and the lithium has been concentrated against the faults there, very similar to Clayton Valley. So very prospective areas, and something which will be a key part of the company's focus for next year. This pulls me on to our work program for next year. We've got a lot going on, a lot of projects ongoing, soon to be some drill results in Burrow Creek. Wikiup will soon start drilling. San Domingo, we're planning a drill program for next year. The brines, we're doing geophysics and permitting. The other sedimentary claims we're permitting. So a huge amount of news flow coming over to the next 12 to 18 months. And also, we're listed on the AIM market, but we are in the process of listing on the OTC market. So we're going to be cross-traded on the OTC by the end of the year. So huge amount of news flow coming, and a lot of upside for us as a company, and resources coming out. We'll have a resource upgrade from Burrow Creek East early next year, and then Q2 we'll get a maiden resource from Wikiup. So as I mentioned, we IPO'd back in July. We've got about $7 million US in cash at the moment. We've just signed a royalty agreement, which once DD is completed, which should be done by the 3rd of December, and we'll sign the agreement before the end of the year. We'll have on closing the first payment, which is $2.5 million, plus also the placement. So we'll have enough to get our sedimentary claims, as I said, to the stage we need to get to, an early stage technical study with the full 10 million, and also starting work at our San Domingo. The company is very well supported by its shareholders. Board of management own 24%. The geological risk in Bradda, I think, is lower than other companies. We have pegmatites, brines, and clay assets. Low political risk. Arizona and Nevada ranked 1 and 2 on the Fraser Institute's investment attractiveness index as of 2020. Infrastructure, end users, all there in the areas we are in the US, and we're developing these assets for the US market, so we can have a green supply chain within the US. And as I said, the management, 24% owned by board and management, so very much involved with the shareholders and have the same incentives. And geological upside, our clay assets, we know the resources there. We just need to drill them up and prove them up. And also, then the upside comes from the pegmatites and the brines, which is what we're seeing very promising initial results from. So all in all, very exciting. I think we're in a position where Bradda is undervalued. We've only drilled 2% of our sedimentary claims. We haven't even drilled our pegmatites or our brines yet. We're in a position where the valuation will jump up. We announced the royalty on Monday, and the shares have gone up very, very well since then. I think the market is slowly understanding the value in Bradda, and now we have the cash to get our sedimentary claims to technical study and enough funds to drill out our pegmatites. We're a very exciting time for Bradda ahead, and we've got lots to come for 2022. I think that's, thank you.
Great. Time flies, already 2022 coming up.
Yeah.
So thanks for a great presentation there. Very informative. So we're going to kick off the Q&A portion of the webinar now. Reminder to everybody on the line that you can type your questions into the chat box at any time, and we'll get to as many as we can. But we do have a few questions already. So congrats on the royalty. Was there a specific reason that Lithium Royalty Corp wanted exposure to the clay projects and not the brine or the hard rock?
Well, they haven't ruled out investing in those two projects. They just, right now, they understand the value in the clays, and we have resources, and they see the potential there. So it's very exciting to be involved with them. And as you said, it's a fantastic stamp of approval for Bradda that they are so interested in investing in us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do you have other interested parties as well circling? You do have a lot of different projects going on for a small company. Have you ever thought about maybe divesting or sharing the wealth, joint venturing some of these?
There's potential for JVing on some of them. I think we need to demonstrate what is there at the brines and pegmatites before we have those sort of discussions. And we have had inbound interest about royalties on those two assets, but I think it's a bit too early for everyone. I think once we get some drilling done at San Domingo, and then some more MT surveys and drilling done at brines, we'll be in a better position to understand the real value, because we don't want to give away the value too soon, because we might be, much more than we think there.
Right. And so between the, I guess, the initial milestone payment from Lithium Royalty plus the equity investment, you're going to have about $4.5 million come in. About half must be spent on the clay, I understand, and the rest of it on the other projects. How do you prioritize your projects, moving forward?
Well, yeah, the Lithium Royalty deal is actually structured very interestingly. So we will get $2.5 million on closing from the royalty, and then $2 million in the placement. And then we'll get another $2.5 million once we achieve a resource at our clays of 1 million tons of LCE. And then the final $3 million once we achieve 2.5 million tons. So, we're very incentivized to prove up a resource, and it keeps us on the same track as Lithium Royalty Corp. So that's fantastic. And then, we've done the geophysics at our Pegmatites, and we initially got very excited from understanding more about them and speaking to our geologists about the thesis regarding the sort of comparables to Bald Hill and Kathleen Valley. So once we did the geophysics and we saw that Pegmatites goes deeper, it was an easy one for us, because if we demonstrate there is something there, then that could be a complete game changer for the company and completely revalue us.
Okay. You did mention you're incentivized to prove up resources here. Should we consider those milestones in the royalty agreement, the 1 million tons and the 2 million tons of lithium carbonate, as near-term goals? Certainly you're going to need the cash for exploration sooner than later.
Yeah, and we're incentivized to prove it up. I think we are going to be. We've started our fast track program this year, and we're pushing hard ahead as we speak. It's something which we as a company want to hit those targets and receive those funds. So yeah, we're very much incentivized to move on as quickly as we can to get to that level, and also importantly at the same time doing metallurgical test work to make sure we're our processing capability and understanding of the clays is progressing, as well as our resources are increasing.
Yeah. Okay. No, sounds good. The Wikiup resource estimate you mentioned was going to be due in the second quarter of next year. When might we expect a resource update from Burrow Creek as well?
So Burrow Creek East, we are nearing the completion of our program, and the assay turnaround times have been slow in the US because everyone is drilling. So it's a very busy market, and we expect that to come through early next year, the resource update.
Okay, and both of those count towards the royalty milestone.
Yeah. The royalty is a 2% royalty covering 47 square kilometers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Have you given any consideration to what products you might be producing? Carbonate or hydroxide, maybe spodumene at the Hard Rock project, even clay, different types of clay for uses other than lithium.
Yeah, so we're going to be very much guided by end users in the US. The initial discussions we've had is that carbonate is probably the most likely product of use from the clays for an end user, because it is more shelf stable than hydroxide. And also, if we provide carbonate to the OEMs end users, then they can make whatever specification of hydroxide they want, depending on the battery chemistry thereafter. As you mentioned, spodumene. From San Domingo, we would produce a spodumene concentrate like they do in Australia. It's a very understood route. It's pretty straightforward. So we'd produce the concentrate in Arizona and then ship it to a spodumene conversion facility. And there's a few popping up in the US. I know Tesla are planning one for Texas. So that'd be the most likely end location for our spodumene concentrate in the US.
Okay, have you started researching processing techniques? Specifically for the clay, I guess. No large-scale commercial production out there right now. So, although American Lithium sort of working on that as well as at Thacker Pass. So,
yeah, well, we've done a lot of test work previously between 2016 and 2018. And we've just started test work. Well, just a couple months ago, we started test work with SGS, which is going to be adding to that test work. And we're working in hand with our processing consultant and also our technical consultant to make sure it is aimed at the right market. We are going to be doing it with a view to having a processing cost for the lithium of below $4,000 a ton to make it economic, because we want to make sure we understand that the long-term lithium price is currently, as we speak, from consensus forecast, around about $12,000 a ton. So we want to make sure that the margins are good for Bradda, and that's why we're aiming towards a $4,000 a ton processing cost or below. And as I said before, we want to be doing this in a low carbon footprint way as possible, because a lot of the lithium picks up a carbon footprint on its way to the US from transport, the energy sources, how it's processed, and the ways it's processed in other countries. So we want to be developing it with using renewables where possible, and low carbon, environmentally friendly ways as possible. So ideally low water uses and low reagents uses.
Yeah, you mentioned as environmentally friendly as possible, going the ESG route. Have you considered how you might process the brines? Typically evaporation has been the route, but, water is strongly desired. And also these are, desert areas typically. So have you thought about going maybe even the direct lithium extraction route?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, Dave. That's the only way we're going to process the brines is through a sort of direct lithium extraction route. And that will enable us to separate the water out and inject it back into the reservoir. So we have a lot of options. We're not going to go down the evaporation route for many reasons. One is from environmental footprint, and two is from a sort of viability option. You don't get the consistent temperature as you do in Nevada, as you do in South America. So for operational and environmental reasons, we would not go for the evaporation route. We go for the direct extraction route.
Right. Okay. I do have a question from a couple of attendees asking about a land dispute with Hawkstone, Arizona Lithium. Could you perhaps provide a little bit of color on this?
Yes. So there is a we're having discussions with Hawkstone about some claims which overlap. I wouldn't want to say too much more. It's a discussion we're having with them, and I'm sure it'll be sorted out in the near term.
Okay. Is it a matter of one staking over another, or is this deal related?
Yeah, no, it's just some overlapping claims over the sort of which we have over some of the Hawkstone claims, and it's something which we're in discussions with them over.
Okay. Nope. Thank you for that. Would you consider picking up lithium projects in other countries? Perhaps look at something else in Canada or South America, maybe even Australia, hard rock.
Yeah, we're obviously going to keep our eyes and ears open to other projects. Right now, we're very much focused on US supply chain. So we would like to keep it North American focused if possible, but, we are open to discussions with other companies and JVs. So, we are keeping our ears open.
Okay. Have you approached the U.S. government for any assistance or grants that might be available for this critical element at this point?
That is definitely something we are investigating, because some of the technology which we will be using on our clays or brines potentially could be novel tech. So that's something we are speaking to novel tech providers which enable us to get a grant. So that is a route we are investigating. Okay,
great. Thank you. And, last question here. We've been going through them pretty quickly. You're answering quickly, but, thank you for your OTC listing plans. Are you considering a listing on the TSX Venture Exchange as well?
Definitely. We've seen, I must say, it's a bit disappointing how London listed lithium stocks have done compared to ASX or TSX listed stocks. So it is an area we see that investors really understand lithium. So it's definitely somewhere we are really thinking about hard listing on. Maybe next year be a good place for us.
Yeah, no, I believe you really need to be listed where your peers are listed. So
yeah,
so good.
Fully agree.
Great. Okay, well, thank you, Charles, from Bradda Head, for helping us, for this webinar today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. A reminder that Red Cloud Securities will be hosting another webinar tomorrow. That's Eris Gold Corp, Wednesday, November 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern. So have a great day, and thank you again, Charles.
Thanks, Dave.